This space is not for the faint of heart. We started in 2022. We're at the heights of the peak before the Luna crash. We had millions of dollars being offered to us, like in VC talks, and we're like, we couldn't believe it because we didn't even have a product yet. We had an idea and we just got started. We had the landing page and LinkedIn. I changed my status and I got like 60 calls from VCs, right? It was crazy. Like, and
Only
people would put
Web3
stuff
link.
here about fraud and things like that in this industry. I'm like, yeah, and we all received emails from a Nigerian prince. It doesn't mean emails are bad, right? I started my first business. I was around 22, 23, and I messed it up so badly, right? So there's a lot of lessons along the way. If you're starting a blockchain Web3 based company, always ask, does the problem you're solving need blockchain, or can you do it with Web2? If the answer can be done with Web2, just that's not a blockchain solution. The key things is, first of all, don't build a unicorn, right? It shouldn't be your starting goal. You're setting up yourself for failure, right? Like, the unicorn will happen by itself. Like, the first thing is solve a problem. That's what I would say always. And treat yourself like VCs treat startups. Think of yourself as a VC. Before you commit fully into one startup, test a bunch of ideas. So, like, when people go to Shopify to build e-commerce, we want people to go to Zero Code to build their, Web3 applications.
Welcome back to another episode of the Strategy Podcast, Crypto Edition. Today I have with me Ayman and Sanath from the Zero Code team. Crypto, as we all know, is an up-and-coming technology trend, and it's been a hot sector. BTC, if you're tracking the prices, is now at an all-time high, which is why the industry is exciting again for outsiders. But we're still very early in this space. With the Strategy Podcast, our aim is always to help you understand what it takes to build and scale a company, and especially in crypto, which is a whole different market or a whole different segment. The jargon has changed. The way people approach building companies have changed. So we have two very talented entrepreneurs in Ayman and Sanath to share their story on why they chose to build in this industry and what excites them about the space. They're going to tap into their own journeys as an entrepreneur, share their experiences, and we'll also talk a little more about the crypto space. So welcome, guys. How's it going?
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Awesome. So before we jump into crypto, how about we start with your and a quick, brisk intro from both of you.
Absolutely. So I can get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Sanath Karkar. I'm the CEO and founder of Zero Code. To give you a bit about my experience, I come from the corporate world, the deep tech industry. I've worked for the last 12 to 14 years in telecommunications, in manufacturing technology, laboratory technology, all the types of deep industry technology. I work more in commercial and marketing, but I've also been throughout that journey with a little alter ego of being an entrepreneur. I've built businesses in e-commerce on the side, and I've started dabbling in Web3 as early as 2018. I'm a lawyer by education, a marketeer by profession, and for the last 2 years with Ayman, been the CEO of Zero Code, which is a new role for me.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. So I'm Ayman Qatar, founder and CTO of Zero Code. So I come more from a technical background. I'm a machine learning engineer. Had my machine learning, my master degree in AI, and then I started my career working in this field as a machine learning engineer in the music tech industry and as data project manager in the advertising technology industry. Well, yeah, it's a fun thing basically because the last 2 years the AI industry was booming and people were saying like, why are you even pivot right from crypto to AI? And I'm like, no, we were building actually. We're building in this during this period. It's a period for building. I mean, I thought it's a little bit too late, right, to like start something in AI during this time.
You should have started 10 years ago if you wanted to be an AI.
Yeah, and actually, like tokenizing the words. We're gonna come to it. It's something that is basically, there's a real vision about the future here. And concerning my journey in crypto, I started in 2016. Tell a little bit about the story. So I was coming back from my student trip from China to Paris, and I was with my friend sitting there talking. Then there was like one of my best friends. He was like on his phone reading an article, and he was like, "Oh man, it's going to be a bloodbath." And I was like, what you're talking about. It was in July 2016, and it was like there's ETH and ETC that are having a hard fork. And I was like, what is that? What does that even mean, right? And he was like, yeah, there's this the DAO hacked, and the community with Vitalik chooses to revert to this previous version. I was like, okay. And then you started to talk about some fundamentals here about the blockchain, and then I was starting doing my own research, and this is where I fall in. 2 years later, I was building with my friends. I transformed my garage into a crypto mining rig center, and 4 years later, here you are with Sanad building zero code.
So both of you come from traditionally very different
Yeah.
backgrounds. How did you guys meet?
Interesting. We both met actually with Antler. Antler is an accelerator before the foundation of a
Mm.
company. So they match together, usually founders looking to build together. And if you can track out and build an idea and take it, you get the investments and you move on. So Ayman and I joined Nordic Court. He was based in Copenhagen. I'm based in Stockholm. Ayman is from France though, but he flew over to stay in Copenhagen, and we just met and we just connected because we both were like obsessed with the whole tokenization of everything. That was like the point of like when we saw like the alignment between our interests. Yeah, and we got funded and we started our journey. Since then we haven't looked back. It's been 2 years. We got funded around May 2022.
And also turning back the clock, Iman, you started as a pure play machine learning AI in the AI space, and now moving into crypto. What was the moment of epiphany for you when you realized this is an industry category that is worth spending time on? Because we clearly see AI startups now booming left, right, and center. The investor sentiment is at an all-time high. In the last 2 years, we saw what happened in crypto, right? There was a bloodbath, and then investors simply pivoted to crypto. So, do you feel now, looking back, it was a good or a bad decision for you to stick around in
No,
this
no, no. Yeah,
space?
I'm absolutely do not regret it. And I mean, I was making fun saying that. Yeah, but why didn't you pivot? But obviously, the two fields are not contradictory, right? I mean, there are a lot
Hmm.
of startups that are building an AI on the crypto, on the blockchain infrastructure. So basically, what made me really think that we have something here is, I think, this inclusive culture. I come from a scientific background, and basically, we all knew that. Going open source and having more than one involved in the decision making makes more robust decisions, and having a protocol that makes this basic way of working seamless. Um, I really thought that there's something really, that,
Unique.
unique, and there's a shift of paradigm, as you were saying.
A paradigm shift.
Mm.
I think one of the things that we've discussed a lot, and you're pointing.
Was that similar for you? Was that similar for you as well? In your journey, your moment of epiphany, from telecom to advertising to now
Uh,
crypto, what made you
Yeah, no,
switch?
for me it was a different story. So the first time I heard about crypto is obviously when I heard about Bitcoin early back in 2010. I've always been a tech enthusiast.
Mm.
I've always worked with tech. I work with engineers basically. That's what I do well. I work with engineers to simplify complex things and make them digestible by the
Mm.
masses. That's my skill. So I was working with a lot of engineers, and I met a network engineer in 2018 who was telling me he was building his own blockchain network, test networks in his apartment. And I was like, what is that even? What is a blockchain? So he started explaining to me the details, and I started learning more and more about it. And then he was like, oh, we can execute things like smart contracts. I'm like, oh, I'm a lawyer, I understand contracts. Let's talk about contracts. What can be done there? And then when I understood how you can create this trust in a trustless environment between two parties that can live in opposite part of the world to transact value seamlessly, I was like, I was hooked. So my lawyer mind just kicked in, and I'm like, wow, what does that mean in terms of intellectual property? What does that mean in terms of like everything, real assets, right? Like you can do so much with these contracts. So him and I tried to figure out, it was really funny because he told me about non-fungible tokens, and we're talking about Ethereum, and
Mm.
that was before the ERC-721 tokens. That was the first iteration of it. And we were like, okay, we can use this for real estate. That was our first idea. So we went into a partnership together where we kind of co-built a platform called BlockPaid, and we built a protocol called Uranium that was on top of
Mm.
Ethereum that enabled the creation of smart contracts with a timestamp. So you can actually rent assets, and we built a GUI that makes it very simple to upload pictures and deploy a smart contract without coding. And that was like the first moment it kind of connected with me. I'm like, okay, someone like me who's into tech but not a developer would love to use tools like that to ideate, build businesses and things like that. And then that's when things rolled up to zero code. So that was my entry point, was around 2000. But luckily, so we built the platform, actually, we built an MVP, and we went to Lisbon to get contracts, and we were able to onboard 350 rooms from different boutique hotels, and like there
Mm.
was like a business that is alternative to Airbnb there. They wanted to list with us, so we got the attention, and then that was around the end of 2019. And then COVID happened and tourism was out of the door, and our focus was mainly on tourism. That
Oh.
was, we were called BlockPaid, decentralizing tourism. And so suddenly the interest went away, and I pivoted into like, okay, NFT rise happened 2020 as well, 2021, and then we pivoted to a multi-purpose platform, and I built the new one with Ayman. Yeah.
Amazing. One big reason I started the strategy podcast is to help budding entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs figure out why they should get into entrepreneurship at the first place. Now, we all know it's exciting, right? All of us see these success stories, both in crypto and outside of it in the tech space. But we also know on a day-to-day basis, it's a huge challenge because it's hard. You have to think about the smallest of details, from what should be the name of your company to what logo resonates the best. How do I think about my product? How do I think about sales? How do I think about buying a coffee machine for my office? So I mean, the smallest decisions to the hardest decisions is what an entrepreneur needs to take. If so, walk me through what has to go wrong in your head to decide, okay, I'm going to take up this challenge and do, get my hands dirty jumping into this
I,
space. Why don't you start first,
I can tell
Sanat?
you very simply, to be an entrepreneur is to be sadistic. You must really hate yourself. You must really hate yourself. I forgot which entrepreneur said this. So I don't know. I cannot quote who it was, but I love the quote. It says, being an entrepreneur is like staring into the abyss and chewing on glass. Staring on the abyss because you're constantly looking at the end of the runway for your company. You're always on the verge of collapse. You always see it as an entrepreneur. You're always surrounded by the fear, and eating glass because you'll have to do all the tasks that you don't want to do. Right? You're not going to focus on the things that you love to do. So being an entrepreneur holds, I think, a lot of different roles. And if someone's going to enter the space, they really have to think about it. I'm a marketeer by profession. I switched roles. I became CEO of this company. Now, being a CEO of a company is completely different than being a CMO, a CTO, a CFO, whatever your role is, because those specialize on the tasks that you have in hand. I don't think there's anything in the world can prepare you to be a CEO, because you're going to do all the horrible things, the finance, the regulation, especially in crypto. We're highly regulated market. So you need to make sure all the legals are right. You need to, cross all your T's and instill confidence in whatever you're building, and continuously provide shareholder value. And your focus stops being really about the task, and it becomes more about holding the things together. I hope that answers your question. How does it feel? Why did we enter the space? You enter it honestly because the highs are high. Like once you succeed and you bring a contract in, or you do like a technological milestone, whatever it is, and you see the fruits of it, no job in the world will compare to this high. But the lows are, I'll let Ayman speak about the lows. It's tough.
I mean,
What are the lows, Eman? What has been the struggles that you've gone through, whether from your family or from internally? Also, we're struggling every time with every new idea that we are trying to, uh, uh, pursue. Because one part of my brain is always the trying to save myself from all of that
exactly.
trouble, and the other part wants to go out there and get
Exactly.
it. So how do you deal with this constant commotion inside of you?
I really think that you really need to manage your risks. It's something that
Mm.
I mean, on the personal level, like in your life, you need to make sure that you're stable. Like, I mean, obviously financially, but concerning other stuff like family wise. I mean, all aspects of your life. You need to have like this certain stability in order to have like your brain. Um, Free from all of those noises, to be able to keep going and creating. And so Sanad has this vision about staring at the abyss. I have like another vision. Have you ever done scuba diving? It
I
is like
haven't.
you just take your bottle of oxygen and you just jump into the water and you're seeing like an amazing place that you're exploring. It's beautiful. You can, I mean, some of them use it to fish, to harpoon fishing, for example. But basically you have a limited amount of resources, limited amount of oxygen, and you need to manage your time. You need to manage your efforts, because basically if you do a lot of if it's not managed, your time will decrease. And at the end of it, I mean, if you end up with with the oxygen, that's it. You die, like they totally die. And
True. You know, um, as a 20-year-old, it's the bling of media around entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs, especially the successful ones. And I see this happening in India quite a bit now, because um, the startup ecosystem in India is now essentially coming to fruition in one way, right? I think recently, last year, we probably crossed 100 unicorns. And so everyone around there, and I live in Bangalore, which is essentially the hub of entrepreneurs in this country. Every nook and corner, you will find youngsters talking about ideas, wanting to build something, wanting to sell something. So from your perspectives, guys, if you were 21 again and you had all of this experience, how would you approach thinking about starting a company? What would be the steps, like step one, two,
Yeah,
three?
absolutely.
Are there even any steps to start being an entrepreneur? If yes, how would you, go about doing it all over again?
Okay, that's a very good question. I started my first business. I was around 22, 23, and I messed it up so badly, right? So there's a lot of lessons along the way. But I think one of the key things is, first of all, don't build a unicorn, right? It shouldn't be
Mhm.
your starting goal. You're setting up yourself for
True that.
failure, right? Like the unicorn will happen by itself. Like the first thing is solve a problem. That's what I would say always. And treat yourself like VCs treat startups. Think of yourself as a VC. Before you
Mhm.
commit fully into one startup, test a bunch of ideas, line up all of your great ideas, right? And then figure out,
Mhm.
based on commercial models, possibility, do the analysis for all of them, and then bet on the right one. Don't just jump gears on the first one. Think about, there could be a better idea that can scale faster, that has an opportunity that is better. And then the ultimate thing is solve a problem. And to solve a problem, we always talk about
Mhm.
this, like, as soon as you can build an MVP like the Wizard of Oz, right? Like it's just the front end, nothing in the back end. An Excel sheet could be in the back end. Just prove that people will buy it before you start building it. And I think that's key. And constantly pivot. Like we not is the pivot is a hard word for most people, but constantly be nimble and able to adjust your direction of your company. I keep telling this time when we talk about product launches and things like that. I'm like, imagine like Tesla, like every time, not Tesla, sorry, SpaceX, every time they have this rocket that goes, to space. And if they mess up one thing before they press the launch button, that a few $1 billion that blew up.
Boom, boom,
Exactly.
boom.
So like make sure that you're adjusting to the weather, we especially in the Web3 space, like if you're talking to crypto entrepreneurs, this space is not for
Mm.
the faint of heart. We started in 2022. We're at the heights of the peak before the Luna crash. We had millions of dollars being offered to us, like in VC talks, and we're like, we couldn't believe it because we didn't even have a product yet. We had an idea and we just got started.
All you needed back in the day on the ICO phase, all you needed was a
Yeah,
white paper.
exactly.
Not even
Not
on
even
paper. I mean, just a landing page,
We
man.
we had the landing page and LinkedIn. I changed my status and I got like 60 calls from VCs, right? It was crazy. Like, and
Only
people would put
Web3 on
stealth.
LinkedIn.
You remember stealth, Web3, whatever? Anyways, but people were funding and people were going, and then suddenly Luna crashes, FTX crashes, and boom,
Mm.
suddenly we're in a bear market. And now we are in this situation where we're like, okay, survival, right? And again, this is what the unicorn thing, I think there's something very toxic in the media today. They like to highlight who got funded, but
Mm.
they don't like to talk about who generated revenues. And there's a huge difference between generating revenues and getting funded, right? We've seen a graveyard
So
of
true.
startups that
Yeah.
got funded $20 million, $15 million. They failed to meet their targets of revenues. Guess what? Series A is not going to come, or Series B is not going to come.
One of my favorite websites is failery.com. Back, I think about 2 years back, I came across this website. It initially started as a newsletter on Product Hunt, and very quickly it was the number one product of the month. And failery.com essentially captures the stories of failed startups, right? Because it's it's so heavily biased in traditional media, all the success stories, that we fail to realize that companies, and there are stories there of companies raising as much as like $200 million in Series D rounds, eventually wrapping up because either the commercial elements of the product didn't work, or the timing wasn't right, or any other reason. Um, so true advice that you've given here, that you must focus on the hard, instead of novelty metrics, what really matters, which is your top line and your bottom line, and how do you get there, how do you strengthen it day in and day on, day out, and also focus on your customers, like a relentless, almost to the point of you being a madman when you focused on those problems. I think that killer instinct of knowing what needs to be focused on is very, very important as an
Yeah,
entrepreneur.
absolutely.
I want to also talk about Web3 because you brought this up. I personally feel that Web3 is a whole different market for entrepreneurs. One reason is you have instant, token liquid markets, which do not exist in in the Web2 startup world. And that changes the dynamics, because in one way you're like a public company, or you're treated like a public company. You have an actively traded asset in an exchange. And unfortunately, that brings with it its own set of course, highs as well, but the challenges, because now you're always in the eye of trying to maintain the price of your
Yep.
tokens. I see that, with a lot of different protocols that are out there today. But what's your take? Because that's exciting. I think that's one of the most exciting things about crypto, but it has its own downsides. So if somebody is looking at the crypto and Web3 market today and thinking, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to pursue a product in this space, and I see all of this instant liquidity gratification that is available to me, and I can be rich in like
Yep.
months. How do I navigate? Because it's very different from pursuing a Web2
Yeah,
tech startup.
absolutely. You're
So any
absolutely
kind of
right,
who wants
because
to?
typically when we talk about the structure of Web2 startups, your way to go to
Mm,
something similar to an ICO would be an IPO. To get to an IPO, you can't get there. It's expensive. It's so expensive to get to IPO. You have to reach a certain level of success unless you're going to be a penny stock, right? But in the case of the ICO case, yeah, there's a lot of money, first of all, by crypto whales, people that have like got into the trend of Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these coins really early on in their journey. So they have capital to invest in projects. So you can, as you said, exactly, raise tons of money quite quick. But when it becomes challenging here is that you have to ensure, first of all, regulatory compliance, because having an ICO is like having an IPO. That means you have to constantly communicate. You have to be clear and transparent about your spend. You'll be treated exactly like a public listed company. And for these companies, you see they have the SEC filings. You have to do similar filings. And I think for these kind of companies, one of the key roles here is chief community officer, because the worst thing for the price of any token is a
mm,
community in FUD. If the community is fudding the project, you're done. And again, so I don't know about
yeah.
going ICO. Like Ayman and I, we always talk about it. For us, it's a very important thing, but it needs to be structured on proper metrics. Make sure to avoid speculation market on your tokens, and try to separate your security token from your utility token, because you can have also separate ones. And understanding tokenomics is another world. Ayman, you know better as well, so you can jump in.
I mean, there's a trap that Sanad was telling you, like, it's something that we're considering, but we're really thinking about it, because the idea here, as we started, the idea is like to solve a problem, and basically to find
Hmm.
this equation there's this general equation that makes the solution of the problem, solving like a deeper, wider problem, to make it to make basically your solution scale, right? So this is like really about the solution. And it's really think that the value, like we started the entrepreneurial journey. I mean, this is the main thing that we're looking at, and having basically the focus on maintaining the floor price, for example, of the token, is something that is important. But we should make sure that basically like we're using this in order to solve the initial problem. And this is the most
Right.
important part here. Like, we really need to keep our focus on solving this issue, instead of just being one of those
Focus on
guys
the
that,
floor price. That's the problem, right? You get too
exactly.
distracted. You're focused on the floor price. You're not focusing on doing the real work, you know?
Then you like you become like a kind of financial company that is putting all of
Yeah.
those uh, financial tools in order to maintain a floor price, and then you forgot basically about the initial thing that you're doing. So this is basically what we want to focus about.
So I always say,
Hmm.
if you want to go
Hmm.
ICO, go private ICO first,
Yeah,
and then work until you
Hmm.
get that revenues, business model, commercial model, then go. You know, it has to be very well planned.
exactly.
So what I hear is approach your ICO as you would your
Yeah,
IPO
absolutely.
in the traditional
And once you
space.
once you
Hmm.
skip to that, there's no going back. This is when you go to jail for 110 years if you do the wrong things, right? Like, if you're gonna go ICO, you better do the right things. Like,
Exactly.
and it's
Exactly.
expensive. We looked into it, like just the legal cost of an ICO.
Yeah.
We're talking about, depends on which jurisdiction you're in, but like somewhere like Switzerland, which is
Hmm.
popular for ICOs, you're looking at $100,000 in legal spend for you to get it
Wow.
structured properly and make sure you're not misleading anyone by any statements made before the raising of the funds, right? So, yeah,
Hmm. Turning back a little bit, going again
yeah.
to our persona of a young entrepreneur, looking at Web3. What are some of the hardest lessons that you've learned in the crypto industry in the last 6 to 7 years? Because both of you have spent that kind of time frame. And if I were to start from scratch in this industry, what would be some go-to places? How would you how would you advise me to get started in this industry?
Very good question. Join communities.
Yeah.
I, Ayman, sorry, you were
Hmm.
saying?
No. Just that if it's in terms of place, I mean, starting in it just need like a computer and internet connection. Actually, nothing, nothing more than that. I mean, it's
Plus
yeah,
one,
it's
one
Yeah.
level up.
exactly. I mean, it has never been as
I
easy as this right now to start.
just don't read books. That's what I would say. Don't read any books about blockchain. Or I would say just
Hmm.
go to YouTube. There's so many good resources on YouTube. That's what I did when I first started learning about smart. I just went to YouTube, and there was tons of videos explaining
Hmm.
everything from smart contract building to the difference between blockchains. There's a lot of online
Hmm.
resources.
But still at a
Yeah.
fundamental level, what do you think one must
Mm.
know before they start thinking about the product?
Yeah.
They start thinking about the
Of
building
course. Of
blocks
course.
of their ideas, the specific communities that they should
Absolutely.
join, the specific skill sets they must acquire in order to be prepared to get,
Yeah.
to launch their company in this
So
space. So, how would you
yeah,
think
I
about
think
these
the
things?
first most important question, and we get this a lot by a lot of this seasoned, high level VCs. When we talk to like people like Underseen Horowitz, people that have invested in the space that we're lucky to have conversations with such VCs. They always come back to us as like, do you need blockchain for this? Right? If you're starting a blockchain Web3 based company, always ask, does the problem you're solving need blockchain, or can you do it with Web2? If the answer can be
Yeah,
done with
wait,
Web two,
absolutely.
just that's not a blockchain solution. And same thing, if you're planning to build a layer one, God forbid, I don't know why would anyone do that, right? Like, you'll focus on layer two, but getting fully today in this current saturated market, what are you doing that differentiates from, let's say, Ethereum or scaling solution like Polygon, or like a stable cryptocurrency like Bitcoin? If you have any differentiation to these, then probably just don't do it, right? So again, like trying to find your space. The market is saturated. I would focus really on, if we're starting, problems that basically blockchain solve is always problems of trust. How do you instill trust in a trustless environment? How can you transcend transactions between people that typically wouldn't trust each other? And to have these smart contracts to
Mm.
automate processes, especially when it comes to finance, right? I think finance is a very important part that can apply across different things with blockchain, and that's what makes it really unique. Rewarding effort, for example, or you have the BAT, the basic
Yeah.
attention token, rewards your attention. So adding that financial instrument into changing models of Web2, decentralizing Web2 platforms, that's, I think, where the real value is.
Yeah, I mean, one difference that I see very clearly in building a startup in this category is you just don't need to know tech. You also need to understand human behavior. You need to understand
Yeah,
economics, right? And you need to understand cryptography. So it's a combination of all of these different skills. And of course, different members in a startup, different team members can bring those different skills. But I think at a base, having some working knowledge and then kind of building your muscle in these specific categories is super
correct.
important. Would you agree with
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
Aman?
yeah. No, no, totally agree with this.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I want to switch gears now and talk about the markets now, right? BTC at 70,000, everybody is excited. Warren Buffett always says when others are greedy, you should be fearful. And when others are fearful, you should be greedy. Are you fearful right now?
Yeah, that's a
I
good
mean,
question.
we hold, we don't sell.
And we don't buy.
Okay. Okay.
We don't buy right now.
Hmm.
We just hold, right? No, but I think so. Okay, so I think what is really nice about these booms in cryptocurrency, that I do understand as someone who's been building blockchain for a long time, that is unrelated to the cryptocurrency, right? It's unrelated. The use cases, the true value and use cases of blockchain is independent of the speculative market of cryptocurrency. It's completely independent. However, this is the big however, like anything in the world, when money pumps in one area, innovation pumps. So when people are willing to invest in the technology, you're going to see more builders, you're going to see more entrepreneurs, you're going to see more ideas, you're going to see more use cases,
Hmm.
and et cetera, et cetera. And I think what's separating us today from the previous boom was sparked really by COVID. Let's be very clear. COVID put everyone at their home.
Right.
People were sitting in front of their screens. Suddenly, a picture of a monkey was really valuable because I can show off. I cannot drive my Ferrari or wear my nice clothes out in public because we're all restrained to our homes. Now I have another way to spend my money and brag, right? So that really boomed up the NFT space, and we saw that explosion. But now we're seeing that not all NFTs are like that. NFTs in themselves evolved. NFTs today are not the NFTs of the
Yes.
essential, the beginnings of that boom. Now it's becoming more about utility, about exclusivity, about passes, about physical representation of real assets. It's evolving a lot. And I think this next boom that is coming right now, we have a lot of learnings from the past, and now we're going to see the real use cases. Because when Ayman and I are talking now to our current customers, are completely different than the 2022 customers. 2022 customers, very entertainment focused, which is fine. It's okay. It's also nice to do comic book activations and theme parks and scavenger hunts and all sorts of things like that. But on the other side, what we're seeing now is tokenization. People want to tokenize real assets. I have a property. I want to break it into tokens to allow more investors. I want to build this project. I want to build. So now we're seeing deep DeFi use cases, and this is
Hmm.
really exciting. And you see BlackRock, has approved and blessed the financial industry
Yes.
with the ETF on BTC, one of the top performers ETFs right now in the market. And now we're seeing all the banks are starting to say, are we going to miss the train on this and have a little startup come and steal a market share from us? So they're investing as well. So it's becoming really exciting again because we're seeing real use cases. And I think it's going to be better boom than the last.
I completely agree, but I also feel like with every bull run, you capture a whole new set of eyeballs, right? People who suddenly get interested in the space, and then they want to read
Yeah.
more, they want to learn more. They might want to participate in different capacities as different kind of stakeholders, which I think is what the bull market works best for. But as you rightly said, there's a change in both the narratives as well as in their heads, what is it that this technology can do in the real world. So I want to now dive into these narratives, right? What in your head, guys, at the end when all of this is over and we are in again another cycle of heads down building, what would be the biggest takeaways from this cycle, both in terms of narratives and also a switch in people's minds about what blockchain and crypto can really do? So anybody, whoever wants to go
Ayman,
first. Eman,
Ayman, you
maybe
should go
you.
first. I've been hogging the whole time the space.
Yeah, in terms of narrative, I was more thinking about like the adoption. What it feels like is that
Hmm.
the 2017 bull run, it was a bunch of nerds that were like, okay, it's amazing. You have like the fundamentals, decentralization, and so on. 2021, as Sanad was saying, it's about people, like really the people. I mean, the masses got into this and got interested, but you were still having some push from the institutions, and I think that in this bull market, I would more see like. I don't know, like my old-fashioned bank sending me a notification telling me like, oh, you can get a loan in crypto or something like this, right? Rather than having like one of my friends from the other side of the world telling me, "Oh, you should invest in it in this crypto because it is booming." So it's really like the institutions adopting the tech, which I think that's going to me is going to make it much easier for the builders to basically convince businesses, right, about the tech. So that's that I think that this is basically my feeling, like going a bit more into this. That right?
Hmm. What do you think? Thanks, Anand. What in your heads are going to be the biggest narratives? Because we see crypto AI now. AI in itself is a huge narrative out there as one of the top tech trends. But crypto AI and all of these different tokens and whether or not they have a product, I mean, debatable, of course. But they're booming. They're like right there in the top 10, top 20 trending coins if you go look at any open marketplaces. Then you have deepen as a category. Then you have, as you rightly pointed out, tokenization with Larry Feng talk, speaking about it, is now gaining a lot of traction in that, in the main
Yeah,
street. So you have all of these different trends. At the end of this bull run, which ones do you think are will just be faff and be forgotten, versus which ones would stay on longer and have lasting changes in mainstream mega industries like finance or
yeah.
entertainment and all of these other
I
categories?
honestly I honestly foresee this trend spreading mainly into the finance sector. That's going to have the biggest impact. I
Mm,
really believe in this because uh, BlackRock buy-in into BTC, and now there is an Ethereum proposal as well that is going to be listed as an ETF as well. That sends really a reinforcement to all the banking industries. BlackRock biggest investor is Merrill Edge. They own 40% of BlackRock, right? Like, and Merrill Edge is a platform for investments. And you take a look at the other ones. So then you kind of get on a deeper under, and Merrill Edge is owned by Bank of America, which is really funny. But anyways, so you see the connection in these deep financial institutions adopting
right.
it. I was in Italy end of last year. I attended a meeting where there was 12 banks and insurance companies, and everyone wanted to talk about blockchain. Everyone wanted to talk about tokenization of assets. So we see it spreading everywhere. Everyone is ahead. They want to get ahead of the curve before it comes there, and there's a real
Mm,
utility for it. There is an actual real utility, and when I look at tokenization of financial instruments, I would see insurance being Bitcoin based, for example, life insurances, insurances paid in crypto. We're going to see real assets being sold in crypto, being hedged in crypto, being invested in crypto, different alternatives of it. And the thing that Ayman and I are betting on the most right now, because this area is way too complex for us, none of us are bankers, let's face it, right? But the area we're
right.
focusing on is SocialFi, which we think is going to be a huge thing as well. SocialFi,
Yeah, let's break down social fire a little more. What is this new area, new category that you're trying to win in the
yeah,
marketplace today? What How does it differentiate from a traditional bank or financial institution? Um,
yeah.
right? And is this a new thing, or something old that already existing in a new tokenized
I
wrapper?
think it's something that kind of exists today, but it's going to be in a new tokenized wrapper. And the tokenization solve for a lot of problems that we have with the existing system. Essentially, a smart
Mm.
contract is a contract binding two parties on a transaction that is in place. Today, if you take a look at the way we transact as people, if you have an apartment and you want to rent it, you have to go through third-party intermediaries to facilitate the transaction and facilitate the security of it. If you want to rent your apartment, for example, or your car, you probably go to Airbnb or a platform that helps you rent cars. Or if you want to sell anything that you have, I'm a yoga instructor, I want to sell my services, I'm probably going to list my services in a platform for discovery, or I'm going to like just paying cash or whatever the method it is that's going to be in purpose. Now all these transactions happen today in
Mm.
centralized pockets, but what if suddenly you build a protocol that enables any person to transact with any person directly without intermediaries, without interest rates, without all these things, breaking down these barriers, right? So this is where SocialFi kind of mixes personal interactions with financial rewards, and we can actually add something more to it.
I want to jump in here,
Yeah,
Sinat, because it's important to break this down. Going back, to A16Z's question on is this a
yeah.
solution that really requires a decentralized distributed ledger, and if it works well with existing technologies, why do you think this is a solution that really demands blockchain? So why didn't you speak a little more about the benefits of removing the intermediary from these kind of transactions and these specific categories and marketplaces? What are the obvious benefits for both parties involved in a transaction, like as mentioned right
Yeah,
now?
absolutely.
Super.
So one of the biggest things that you immediately can save up. Sorry, were you saying something, Ayman?
No, no, no.
Oh,
Just I
okay.
would just said it's cheaper.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's cheaper. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. So this is what I was gonna say. So the first aspect is it's much cheaper, right, for both parties, right? If you're
Hmm.
gonna go through Airbnb, they're gonna charge you 20% commission rate for facilitating through their platform. But if you can actually list it directly on a social media platform and say this, like you do with Facebook ads, whatever, whoever interacts with the with the contract can contract with you directly. They have a receipt for their time. This is provable. You have everything in place to enforce it. Then it becomes a lot more faster. It creates trust in a trustless environment. And this is the question that I always say, like, does it create trust in a trustless environment? Here you have to pay an intermediary to do this trust for you. Here you don't. So you have these contracts in place. And of course we do KYC. You can do a lot of these things that already exist today. You cannot open today a wallet without going through the KYC process. So you have all these things, securities built in already into a bigger ecosystem. And I think what is one of the unique things about the blockchain again is the transparency of transactions. Everything can be traceable. Everything can be found. Another thing that we really are excited about as well in this space is the ability not.
But don't you think, like, I'm sorry to cut you, but don't you think, for especially for financial transactions, stakeholders would prefer different levels of transparency with respect to what they are doing? I mean, why would I want the world to know what the heck I'm up to, what transactions I'm entering? Uh, do you think that's
I don't,
important as a condition or thought for customers today that you speak about when you're going out and trying to sell
Yeah,
this?
so this is a very excellent point you bring up. I think one of the main things that a lot of Web3 entrepreneurs fall into is that we talk a lot of Web3 jargons and we get used to it when we talk to Web3 people. But when we talk to customers, we talk in a complete different tone, right? So what we're talking about is the
Right.
end benefits for you. In this case, in this social fi space, today some things exist. Let's talk about, for example, Facebook Marketplace. You have a Facebook Marketplace. I can list anything I want on Facebook Marketplace and I can sell it, and there's these commission fees, and but there's no trust here. You can, for the payment, for the transaction, you have to do it in person, in cash. But here you can actually enable digital transactions that you can secure. Another thing is for digital assets, which is an area that we haven't talked about enough. Think about the creative works, graphic designs, artwork, etc. Now it can be actually sold and traded. It can be actually copyrighted as soon as it's posted on a social media. So as soon as I post it on social media, it's posted on a smart contract, people can buy it from me. If someone steals it, you can trace it, and you have the original certificate of the publication of an artwork. So there's a lot of other elements to it that we are just scratching the surface of. specifically with Presence, which is the company we're
Hmm.
collaborating with. So we met Presence in Techstar. Presence provided to us a really interesting platform. The biggest problem, as you said, when we talk to people, you're talking too much blockchain. We built basically the Swiss knife of blockchain building. You can build anything with zero code, right? But then here comes, the objection that we often get. We want something that comes out of the box. Great, you can have builders build on your tools, but I want you to carry my hand. I want you to build everything for me, unless you have a product out of the box. Presence and zero code coming together with Polygon on this project, this is exactly the solution that out of the box. Presence provide a geolocation accurate connections with your social media app and where you are and how to meet others. Now, what we're thinking about, which we thought was really cool, is that you can actually create beacons for redemption. So you can actually have a proof of presence, which is the name of the app, or proof of attendance. But in this case, what we're doing is you're putting an actual geopin location. If you attend that event, you get to redeem tokens. So here you can actually even incentivize real foot traffic into merchant stores, into things like that. So there's so much layers to actually unpack there. And this is really the ethos of Web3. You should always be rewarded for your time, for your attention. If you're using a social media that is free, then you are the product. But with a social fi concept, you are not the product. For your attention, whether you're messaging, building a community, helping a brand grow socially, you can be rewarded by offers, by tokens, by incentives for your time put in. The community that doesn't do that
That's
doesn't give
exciting.
you that. So sorry, I love to talk about this forever. So
Yeah, that's exciting. And in the next section, I'm going to
yeah,
dive deep into zero
yeah,
code and presence and this product that you're building. But I just want to focus right now, in this space a little more about the real world crypto interaction, right? You've been selling into or trying to convince organizations, communities, or creators in the real world in the last 2, 3 years in your interaction with them. What in your head are the biggest challenges that are holding back crypto's adoption in the real world? I know for sure, there's the education challenge, of course. When you're talking to them, they're not nerds like us. They're not in the industry. They don't understand the jargon. They would never be asking questions that we do, right? Things that we take for granted are things that they don't have any clue about. So they need to be educated first. There are also concerns about this industry because it's in its infancy. We've seen a lot of frauds. We've seen rug pulls. We've seen bad behaviors from actors in the industry, which has also eroded trust in the market for all of us put together. So when you go out there and you're trying to sell a crypto solution to a real world business, what are the barriers that you face, and how do you break it? Like, what has to be true for real world adoption to happen through for crypto and blockchain solutions and technologies?
So there are a couple of funds. Obviously, there's the cultural barrier, and the reputation. Obviously, there's a lot of businesses and brands that don't want to be associated with all of those scandals that are associated to the industry. There's also a lot of, yeah, I don't see, once again, like I don't at this moment right now, like I don't see the difference with the web through
Hmm.
with web 2. And there's also regulation aspects, like okay, it's amazing, it's interesting, it's really something that I want to do. Am I protected doing it? Am I going to go to jail for doing it? Am I being this scammer without even knowing? So these are basically the three challenges that we often face.
How do you go when you're talking to a real customer and he's bringing up these issues? How do you address them in a way that it doesn't scare him? At the same time, he is willing and interested to take a bet on this industry because he sees the potential of what it could bring to him in terms of upsides. How does that process
A
go?
really good way to do is by examples. Obviously,
Hmm.
there's as you were saying at the beginning, we're still in an early industry, and there's I mean, there's a lot of failures, but there's also some successes, good successes there.
True.
Um, So basically, yeah. I mean, this could be very reassuring. It happened. It worked for this and that example, and you can see basically the beautiful thing here about our industry is that I mean, the transparency once again, like showing basically the figures. In a very transparent way, showing them like I'm really seeing the transactions that are getting there. What do you want? Even more transparent?
Right.
I mean, this is yeah.
Right. I think that's such a winning proposition, because on the one hand, when you say, there are all of these frauds and scams, the reason we know about them is because all of that is transparently available on the blockchain, which is such a winning bet. And I see like very senior regulators and people um, uh, in the Congress or politicians literally spreading a fake propaganda that, hey, look, everything is bad about this industry. It's just a bunch of bad actors and people who don't want to follow the rules who are in this category. Well, quite literally, it's the other way around. We're trying to create a more
Absolutely.
transparent, um, system, an alternate system, which is better than what we have today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate that this is not coming
I
out
mean,
today.
whenever I hear about fraud and things like that in this industry, I'm like, yeah, and we all received emails from a Nigerian prince. It doesn't mean emails are bad, right? It doesn't mean emails
Good
are
one.
bad, right? There are bad actors everywhere, right? But
Yeah.
I've seen even companies that are in AI that have
Hmm.
raised money fraudulently. It can happen anywhere, right? But I think people
Yeah.
were too harsh
Yeah.
on the Web3 space. And one of the reasons you mentioned it earlier, it's so much easier to raise money with Web3. So easy to raise money with Web3. You build a nice site, a nice concept during a boom when there's a bull run, and money will flow in, right? So, at the same time, sometimes, like any startups, projects also fail because they got the money, they spent it the wrong way, they didn't get the traction, they couldn't create sustainability. There's that as well, that is getting as well lumped up in the whole, like, oh, it's a fraud industry.
Yeah.
In 2024, I think with BTC ETF launching, it brought a certain legitimacy to the industry in one way. Um, do you think this will change the conversations that you're going to
Yes,
have with real brands, organizations, corporates? Has this brought in a positive
absolutely.
image for the industry? And
100%.
how do you think that that will benefit the overall industry, and also your specific category when you go
If
out there and talk
Yeah,
to brands?
exactly.
Is it much more? Is it much more? Are they much more open to having those
They were
conversations now that
not
this
yet,
is?
not
Oh,
yet. So they were a lot more open. I would say in
mm,
2022, that year, we had a lot of big brands, global brands wanted to do projects, and we saw them. We were part of the L'Oreal
mm,
acceleration program and innovation program in Station F.
right.
LVMH has one. We see a lot of these brands doing it. So that momentum never stopped with them, but it kind of did slow down, I would say, towards the end of last year. We saw them starting to focus more in metaverse, starting to focus on more virtual type of like experiences. But now that the bull run is back, the bullish markers that I've seen was even before the bull run started. I'm telling you, like end of last year, I spoke to
Mm,
financial institutions,
right.
insurance companies. These guys are on. That's why I know these guys are going to be the first adopters in this next wave. So that's
Yeah.
my view. Brands, I think they would wait a bit longer to see the market picking up again before they start investing. And it's like anything. If there's money flowing, people will invest, people will build. Um,
But it is a great indicator. For example, I was discussing
Mm,
a month ago with some friends in Dubai that are basically owning real estate, and so they wanted to create projects with it. Well, one of them wanted to sell the apartment basically to generate income out of it. So I was like here talking about why not tokenizing it? Yeah, but tokenizing it's I mean so there's a lot of risks there, right? And so I talked a little bit about zero code. They were kind of intrigued, but I felt like they were
mm,
still a bit. I mean, kind of nervous in just getting into when I just talked about basically BlackRock and Larry Fink and the idea is that everything would
mm.
be tokenized in the future. They were like, okay, I would go for a demo, right? Yeah, then basically, yeah. So I demoed basically zero code, the creation of a token. We create a smart contract together. We're basically um, transformed a fictional apartment, which was theirs, into a
But
token, and then like seeing what's going on basically on the blockchain without with the transaction and everything, and they were like, oh damn, okay, this
they
is amazing.
understood it, and that's
Yeah.
and that's one of the other benefits that we're talking about social fire earlier as well. It's the idea that you can make secondary sales as well, secondary royalties on sales after they leave your control, which is something that never existed before. And here it can like
Hmm.
really manage, depending on how you automate the smart contract. You can automate it on different conditions to pay up dividends, to pay up whatever based on holding, staking. There's so much that can be done there, but it's all based on, I would think, the biggest value in real assets. I met an entrepreneur as well, Ayman, just like a month ago. He was talking to me about Zero and how we can help him. And he is tokenizing whiskey caskets. So they have this big whiskey like storage unit. And this is like vintage whiskey, very expensive. And they want to tokenize the investments in it, and they'll pay them dividends from the profits of the selling of this whiskey. So I'm like, okay, this is amazing. So now they're growing their operations by raising funds and leveraging it against real assets that are worth money. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Great entry point now into zero code. The product that you're building now in the socialify category with presence. So the floor is yours. Give me an elevator pitch of what zero code is, who is it for, what's the problem we're trying to solve. And you've already shared enough details that it's in the socialify category. But let's get from the top,
Yeah,
zero
okay.
code.
So Zero Code, what is Zero Code? Zero Code is a Web3 launchpad designed for creative minds. We enable, non-developers, and developers can use it too if they want, to deploy smart contracts onto the blockchain. We support Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, and Ethereum, and then we enable you to build really nice experiences through token gating, digital platforms, and physical real life experiences. So this is our focus really, is to foster engagements and tokenization using our platform. We like to think of ourselves like the Swiss army knife of blockchain building, because our smart contract factory is so adaptable.
I love
Yeah,
that.
it's like we have ARC 1155 tokens, which you can do ARC 20 type of tokens with it. You can create the 721. We do soulbound tokens. We do open editions. We do dynamic NFTs, conditions, and then we enable you to integrate these smart contracts directly by just copy pasting code. You don't have to code anything. You have iframes. You create a mint frame. You copy paste the code into your Wix or Webflow, whatever platform you used to build on. No code. Again, you create a gate. So that was really our mission. And what we really wanted to do further on top of that is remove the blockchain from the eyesight of the users if they want to. So with our platform, you can actually remove our wallet. You can connect with Coinbase, MetaMask, or you can create an email wallet linked to that project specifically. So people just log in with their emails. They don't even feel they're interacting with the blockchain.
Some interesting words that I
Yeah.
heard there. Swiss Army knife for blockchain solutions for creatives. What does that mean? Who is your, who are the customers who are
Yeah.
using the solution today? And why should they care about
We
zero
have
code?
about 300 users, so we've been building steadily. Ayman and I
Mm.
are like really very lean startup. We have to start with that. Uh, we have raised only a pre-seed. We never raised after, because it was for both strategic reasons and also the market conditions. So it was both. But ultimately, what we saw in the market, that a lot of people were raising money. Again, everyone wanted to raise that seed. Everyone wants to raise a few $1 million. And then what happens when you don't, when the market is down and you're not generating revenues? You cannot raise for Series A and you're out of the market. So when we saw the things going under, we decided, let's bootstrap, let's build, engage with the community, and build a close knit organic community. Our community are primarily Web3 builders, right? Primarily entrepreneurs, startups. This is like the majority, but we do have other people that are not that. So we have small businesses, companies that are building with us. We built with a comic book, which called Scarlet Couture, with, of course, our friends at Metaverse Limited, and what are they called? The other one? Sorry, Titan Comics as well. So we've done these entertainment type of projects as well. We've done community building, like Soulbound token community with on-chain builders on the Near protocol. So we've kind of like dabbled with a lot of different applications here, and we've seen different users. But I would say mostly it's been builders, enthusiasts, and this is where our collaboration with Presence comes, where we want to take it from builders and enthusiasts in the space and bring it out to the masses to make it more adaptable.
Hmm. Hmm. I want to ask you, Eman, what has to be true for zero code to really win in your heads? When will you count this project to be a winner, both in terms of achieving some metrics or the impact that you want to see now with this partnership with Presence and expanding beyond the nerd market into the mainstream, because then both your positioning, what you're going to communicate, everything changes significantly. And so what has to happen when you will consider, okay, this project really made it, and it's a
So,
win,
so, so,
win-win for both us as entrepreneurs and for the market and our end
so,
customers.
so the question concerns success metrics, success criteria, right? What makes it?
Yeah, success criteria in the sense that what do you think has to be true for you to feel that this is a win, both for you and for the market, for your end
It's an amazing
customers.
question, actually. The thing is that it's like scales, right? Like you go
Mm.
milestones, right? You go milestone after milestone. I mean, this is basically what we were thinking. The way we were going. So
I mean, if you were to look into
What is
the
yeah?
hourglass, like 5 years, if you were a soothsayer looking 5 years down the
yeah,
line,
yeah, yeah.
uh, what do you want? How do you like imagine zero code to be?
Really?
What would
Okay.
it be doing? How would it be you? How would it be used in the
Oh, oh,
marketplace?
oh.
Right? What would be its scale of impact for end users? Like from that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
perspective.
I would like it to be like a kind of standard, right?
Mm.
Not something really like uh, noisy, just like a standard that we'll be basically using to basically to tokenize everything. Now,
Wow.
I mean, when I say tokenize everything, is not like specifically about this, but yeah, like doing. Um,
So we've talked about this before. So like, when people go to Shopify to build e-commerce, we want people to go to zero code to build their, Web3 applications, right? To us, that's always been the case. And now I think with Presence, it's about wider. It's about building a protocol that I would say will be the engine of Drive. So what we want to build is a protocol that anyone can build on top of, right? Build this thing that solves a real problem and let anyone build on top of it. That's my view of it. How about you, Ayman? Do you agree? Do
Mm.
you want people to build on top of like an open source protocol?
Yeah, yeah. I was more thinking here about the way to go with presence. I more see it basically on a daily basis, like people just basically using it without using it, for example, to redeem some offers, or basically businesses to do some micro fundraising or stuff like this.
Mm.
Like really, like on a daily basis, having it being used without without people even knowing it. And yeah, from a builder's perspective, yeah, something a little bit like Shopify.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, abstracting away all of the complexities of blockchain, because when I think about using any application as an end user, I'm not thinking about the building blocks of those
yeah,
applications, which are all abstracted away for me. I mean, I'm not thinking about the HTTPS protocol. I'm not thinking about their cloud servers. All I'm thinking about is, okay, I want to solve this problem, and which is the application that I can use to really get it done. And I think having infrastructure at that level is something that the cycle is a lot about. The cycle is fundamentally one big element is going to be infrastructure abstracted away, so end users can have a seamless experience, which I think is a win-win for everyone in the space, developers or end users, or even entrepreneurs like
Yeah,
you.
I 100% agree. And I think if you ask me that question of like what to me is the ultimate success metric, my ultimate success metric from my marketeer perspective is that I want my end users to use blockchain on daily basis without them knowing that they're using the blockchain. That will be success. If it's part of everyday's
That's
transactions, but
yeah.
nobody knows that it's blockchain, that's a success. Because if we're
yeah,
gonna put blockchain in people's throats, nobody's gonna swallow it. I'm telling you, it's too complex. People get too worried about it. Don't worry, it's not a token. It's a redeemable offer. You could
yeah,
use this. You can sell it to a friend. It's worth $50 at this restaurant, at this shop, at this yoga instructor.
Mm, mm,
That's it.
mm. You know, I want to dive in again. You addressing that
Yeah.
new aspiring entrepreneur from zero code's perspective and building this How long, by the way, you guys have been working on Zero Code?
Now about 2 years and 3 months.
3
1
months.
month, 2 months, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. So this has been a long
Yeah,
enough journey. So now, when you look back at your experience of building Zero Code, I'm sure um, there are two elements to it. One is setting the vision, which is ultimately people not thinking about blockchain when they're thinking about using the blockchain. That's your ultimate vision. But then, as Ayman brought up, right, you're also thinking about milestones. So you have to both zoom in and zoom out as
oh
an
yeah,
entrepreneur. Looking at these experiences, how would you suggest a new entrepreneur now building who and because building up in my head, you can't really start with a vision. You discover it while you're in
yeah,
the weeds. You find something interesting enough, you think this is big enough, which allows now the organization to galvanize around a vision, right? So you can't really start with a vision, but was this any different for you guys? And if you're advising a new entrepreneur, how would you go about asking him? Because popular jargon is start with
yeah.
vision. You must have a vision for your life, you must have a purpose, but I think you discover your purpose. Do you agree with this statement? Is it any different? How would you advise an early stage
Actually, the f-
entrepreneur thinking about
actually
vision for a
actually the
startup?
first time we met, Ayman and I, we sat down and that's what we did. The first thing is we figured out the vision. To be fair, remember the
Okay.
first time we met, we first met on a virtual call. He was in Copenhagen, I'm in Stockholm. Then he took the train or something to Stockholm. I forgot he flew or you took the train.
The train, I think,
The
yes.
train, you came to train. You came to Stockholm, and then we sat down and we spent the whole day just working on the vision. What is
Yeah,
the vision? What we want to build? Why do we want to build it? The what, why, how? The Simon Sinek
yeah,
golden
exactly.
circle.
In circles, yeah. We still have it. I mean, it's fun. Yeah,
But does that change like in the last 2.5
Yeah.
years? Has that evolved, or is this something which
To be
remains
honest,
fixed
though,
forever in the life cycle of
the
a
why
startup?
stayed the same. I would say the
Hmm.
how and the what changed, right? That kind of evolved throughout the 2 years a lot, because of course the what we're building changed, but our vision of what we wanted to do remained the same until this day. Our main aim was to democratize access to the technology and make it an everyday use, remove the blockchain from blockchain, right? Just give very
Hmm.
simple UX interfaces for building and interacting. That was like our ultimate goal, democratizing this technology. And we stuck to it. Now, how we
Hmm.
do it is changing, right? The way we
we
wanted
did
to do it
a lot
first was a
of
lot. What?
we did a lot of products and a lot of features that basically we just yeah,
So there was a lot of
Oh yeah,
exactly.
experimentation internally, which is basically the
we
what and how to
Yeah,
we
achieve the
had a
why.
chat app once. We had a decentralized chat app that we've put together as an
hold my
MVP.
token. It was called Hold My Token.
It was called Hold My Token, and we still have it. and so we've done these things, and this is another thing that is challenging about entrepreneurs
Ah.
because we can find a problem that the market needs, and then we get
Hmm.
so obsessed with it that we think it's the ultimate thing, and then so we created this MVP and we start pitching to all of our customers, people that are signing up. So we have leads, we have our own marketing, so people come in and nobody wanted
Right.
to buy it. And we're like, okay, hold on a second. Are we building something that
Right.
nobody wants to buy? And then we're like, okay, let's switch gears to something else. And we were lucky.
YC has this interesting saying, which is people building solutions in search for a
Yeah,
problem, which I think is very, very pervasive. A lot of founders, especially first stage founders, they're so obsessed with one idea that came to their heads, uh, and it's a vicious cycle because once you're there trapped, you might just spend years
yep.
of your life doing something that
Nobody wants to buy.
you should rather have been very flexible on. So just wanted to bring that in. Please
Absolutely.
go on,
So
Sanat.
one entrepreneur gave me this recommendation. He said the best entrepreneurs out there are entrepreneurs that hold their convictions lightly, right? You should be convicted
Mm.
in what you're doing. You should believe in it, but you should also hold it like don't. And then the other thing that we heard is like the easiest person is to fool is yourself, right?
Yes.
This is the biggest problem that we see with a lot of entrepreneurs. We were the victims of it. We spent like few months obsessing about the
Mm.
chat app. We thought it's going to change the world, right? And our idea was cool. It's like it's a decentralized chat. You just can log in on this protocol, and and nothing is. But then we're like, okay, why again? Why? What does it solve? Like there's Telegram, there's Discord, there's
Yeah.
other things.
but honestly, I think we did good. So basically, having I think it's term of wording, having a vision.
Mm.
Since day one, it's I mean it's not a vision, it's a hypothesis. Right? You just word as it is, like it's just a hypothesis. You just test this hypothesis on the market, and actually to make it to be able to test it, you just need to enable people to just to use it, or for example having a pitch deck, or whatever. And then yeah,
Mm.
reiterate small by small. But for example,
The best,
for
honestly, like the best product like developments that we've done on our solution was
yeah,
based on feedback that we got. So like we had users using our software, they'd be like,
So yeah,
yeah,
I want to because there's been a journey really for you to get to this Swiss Army knife product identity for zero code, right? That's a simple no code solution. People can build whatever they want. Slowly, we will abstract away all of the complexities of the blockchain. So in my head, the target persona here is are people who are not very technically skilled, right? But they want to leverage these solutions to offer experiences to their customers. um, how many iterations, just for a young entrepreneur, so they have context, how many iterations it took for you in terms of different products from the chat app to now getting to this product that we have with in partnership with Presence, that you went
so
through,
many.
right? So walk us through that
Do you
like
know the number
journey.
we're on today? Which version we are of zero code today, Ayman?
version. Let me check.
We have done it. So while he checks, yeah, we've changed the product quite a lot, and we've launched it in different phases. So we've launched it in a
Mm,
small trial phase with only trusted people, and then they given us a lot of
mm,
feedback. Then we launched the public version, smaller cohorts, and then it kept on evolving. So we went from the essential MVP, which was a very simple Excel sheet looking thing you fill in and you get your smart contract deployed, into a GUI, and then adding all these top features, adding open edition NFTs, adding soulbound tokens, adding revocation. And the best thing that we've always got is when we fail, to be honest. This is when you learn from your failures. We try to deploy things with customers who've signed up, wanted to use it, and they're like, well,
mm,
we've used it and it worked, but we didn't love it. And we're like, why? And they're like, oh, well, this is missing, this is missing, this is missing. And then we're like, okay,
yeah.
stop everything we're doing. We're not going to build anything else until we solve these problems. And then, 3, 6 months later, we have a better product, and then we continue our journey. So our journey has been long, but it's been honestly like customer driven. And yeah, which version, Ayman? Did you get it?
So we have like a V11, but basically we have basically a lot of
V11.
things in just one. Yeah. So the main one,
Wow,
yes, it was.
that's crazy. That's crazy. That just shows the level of iteration and presence that you need to be, the flexibility that you need to have in your head in order to continue to iterate and listen to the customer and then build something that they really want, which is so important. But okay, now to segue into the next question. You've been chosen as one of the few teams who are part of the, actually 6 teams who are part of the Polygon Village Build Ideas program, which is interesting because we received over 170 applications or so, right? So it was a difficult choice. It went through. I personally went through like 170 different startup ideas, and then it was an independent council of like 11 experts in Web3, both from within Polygon and outside, who weighed in to select the team. So walk me through why do you what excites you about Polygon. What there are so many choices that you have with blockchain. There's no dearth. Every week there is a new L1 or L2 coming up, a new roll up coming up. So with so much noise in the market, what do you think separates Polygon, and why do you think it's a good home for
I'll say
zero
one
code?
word, then I'll leave it to the CTO to talk because it's his area. But one thing that I really love, community. That's it. The Polygon community. We've been
Mm,
really early involved with the Polygon community from the beginning of our journey. And one of the first blockchains we've integrated into our platform was Polygon. It's scalable, it's affordable, it does a lot it solves a lot of the use cases that we were trying to solve for, especially when we talk about mass adoption. We're not talking about novel use cases. We're not talking about exuberant smart contract fees, and we're not talking about the environmental damage that other blockchains may cause,
Hmm.
right? So for us, it was like the obvious choice. But I'll leave Ayman to fill in the
Yeah,
rest.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you're the technical giga brain behind zero code. You must have spent a lot of time thinking about this fundamental question, right? So why
I
Polygon?
mean,
Same question to you.
honestly, I mean, in terms of the technicalities, I don't really think that
Hmm.
it's like the main purpose here. I mean, it's EVM compatible, which makes it much easier. So it's a no brainer. For real, it's the adoption. I mean, we've seen like big brands, big companies that are adopting it and having like. In terms of quantity of people. I mean, we were comparing it to Solana, for example, at the beginning, and we wanted to integrate with Solana, and at a certain moment, we were like, Wait a minute,
Why?
like, why you're
We're not
basically."
not to throw shade, but but truly, it's like no. If you look at the community, and if you look at the adoption rate, Polygon wins, and it made sense for a lot of our customers that we're dealing with. When we're talking to bigger corporates, bigger brands, they get Polygon. Let's do it. Let's go. So yeah, especially because a lot of use
Hmm.
cases when we talk to a lot of brands, they're giving away as well a lot of NFTs as tokens for appreciation. Again, that's a big concept in blockchain. You give away tokens. You cannot be spending tons of money on smart contracts for giveaways. You cannot be going through that. So you need something that is scalable, and I think that's one of the unique things as well. um,
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. As an early stage company, there are so many options that you have out there in terms of accelerators and
mhm.
incubators. Polygon Village program is, of course, offering a lot of what those different programs do. But given all of these choices, what was your thought process when you were thinking about applying to the Polygon Village? And now, 6 weeks down the line, what has been your experience in the program so far?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's like really and absolutely, it's an honor to be part of this program, to be selected among all the startups that we see here. Um, for me, the Polygon vision really closely aligns with what we're doing here. We both, I think, are in a mission to make blockchain technology accessible and scalable. And our experience has been great. Our experience has been great. We meet with great mentors. We've met with you're holding amazing sessions that opens up our mind to this. But most importantly, we have a platform for feedback, and we just talked about it earlier.
Mm.
We cannot move a step forward without getting the feedback of the community, and the program is structured in such a way. We have these trenches. You have to deliver these milestones to get the feedback from the community, and we build with the community. And Ayman and I have been engaged with the Polygon community for quite a long time now. We've, participated during the Ethereum Paris last year. We've been working with a lot of people in Web3 labs in Lisbon and in Amsterdam, all over really. So it made sense to us to just go full in and go for this program and build with you guys this concept, because I think we're going to get the right feedback here.
Awesome. Awesome. That brings me to the last section of this podcast, which is a rapid fire round. So I'm going to throw a bunch of questions at you, and you have to give me like quick replies. Hmm. So let's start. BTC or ETH, your go to cryptocurrency?
BTC.
BTC or ETH, is that?
Yeah.
Yes, BTC or Ethereum, your go to
BTC.
crypto.
BTC, yeah.
I'm inclined to ask why. You're building in the EVM
Oh yeah,
around
yeah. There's
Ethereum.
difference
Why BTC?
because I consider Ethereum and Polygon as not necessarily a cryptocurrency, but an actual uh, platform,
Platform, technology
technology platform.
platform.
There's utility to these tokens. You can build with them. You can do all these applications on top. While I look at Bitcoin as an investment instrument. So if I had to choose which one as an investment instrument, I would go BTC. If I had to choose which one to develop on, I'm not going to go ordinal. I'm going to go Ethereum and Polygon.
Same.
Hmm. What is the one thing you love and hate about crypto Twitter, and why?
Oh, okay.
Love and hate.
I'm
Uh,
out.
no, for real, like now, I really started to hate like to the moon, like all of those.
Yeah. I
You've been so much
I'm
having
not
these.
I'm not I'm not a big fan of crypto Twitter, to be honest. I am more interested in LinkedIn and Medium and blogging and meeting other venues. Even YouTube for me is even better platform. Twitter to me, there's a lot of
Mm.
FUD, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of scammers, there's a lot of bots, and I hate robots so much, and there's so many of them there. So I'm not a big fan of that whole environment personally.
But at the same time, it's pretty nice because like there's a lot of people and there's like a lot of
You need
ideas
it.
that are getting communicated. So it's very inspiring actually to be basically on Twitter. It's just like, yeah, there's a
It's
lot of noises.
exhausting. It's exhaust, but
Yeah.
it's important. It's the most important thing in the world. But you need to have. That's why I said you need to have a chief community officer that is 24/7 on Twitter. I went through that for a phase where I couldn't sleep at like 4 a.m. I'm getting like DM'd like
Yeah.
no,
Okay, the following categories: hot or not, meme coins.
not.
Well, everybody says not until you have like times 100, right?
I,
I
yeah,
mean,
Hmm.
you know what? With just like yeah, with money that you don't want to know how to do with, just to have fun, right? I mean, it's just for fun.
I'd
Yeah, I
rather
mean,
go to the casino.
the whole point of it is just to have fun, right?
I'd put it on roulette, to be
Hmm.
honest.
No. RWAs, real world assets, hot
Hot,
or not?
super hot, on fire.
Super hot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. AI, crypto AI,
I think I
hot or
think
not?
hot for the creator economy. It can be hot for the
Hmm.
creator
Yeah,
economy.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. If you woke up one morning as the following people, what would you do? Vitalik Buterin.
Oh, what do I do if I was Vitalik Buterin?
Of I mean, I'm just imagining his life, man. It should be like a nightmare. It is so hard to be telling.
To be honest with you, it's like saying, waking up like Vitalik Buterin is like saying, what if you wake up tomorrow and you're an alien from Alpha Centaurium? He is not from this planet, so I don't even know what to do. He just seems like a genius, and in
Okay.
Vitalik we trust.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. How about CZ?
Oh, CZ. I'll probably be enjoying my vacation. Isn't he off work now? I'll be I'll be on my mega yacht somewhere in Monaco.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Elon Musk.
Oh God, Elon Musk.
Sell
Yes,
all your
yes,
Dogecoin.
yes. If I was Elon Musk, I would first of all sell all of my Dogecoin because I'm anti meme coins.
um,
But no, but honestly, I think what I would do personally, I would just implement the zero code and presence protocol onto X and make X a platform that accepts cryptocurrency and exchange of value through smart contracts. Add smart contracts to the mix. Make it better. Make it spicy.
Hmm. An idea that changed your life.
that has already changed our life.
An idea that changed your life.
An idea that changed your life, that deeply influenced you.
Open source.
Hmm.
Mm. Um,
What about you, Sinat?
an idea that changed me, that you can actually make money not being employed. That's an idea that changed me forever. I'm like, this is cool. Like you can actually start a
Wow,
business and make your own money.
that's
That's nice.
That's a great note to end the strategy podcast. It is for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It is for people who are aspiring to have that life. So I think it's a lovely note to end. Thank you, guys. It was amazing speaking with you. I think we touched upon a lot of different areas and concepts. And any aspiring entrepreneur or builder listening to this will certainly have big takeaways. So, guys, if you are going to tune into this episode, it's almost at the very end. Don't forget to take notes because I think they dropped a lot of truth bombs, which will certainly be amazing and insightful when you apply it to your own lives. So with that, it's a wrap on today's episode of the Strategy Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
guys.
Have a good one.